second stream tomorrow regarding the situation. But as you guys know, I own a lot of North Star guidebooks. I think I can say I think I own almost every single one now. I think I'm missing just one. You know, so yeah, North Star guidebooks. Talked about them in the past. Have a fucking. I think I have 15 now actually with these two new ones. But so in my quest to get the guidebooks, I referenced. I think it was about last summer when I started this quest. But so basically, I referenced that there was in the live stream. Most people probably didn't watch it, but I referenced that there was a RAL guidebook I didn't get. So that is this one. This guidebook, I believe, is dated for. Let me see here. So first off, it's one of the smaller guidebooks. I don't like these. They're a pain in the ass to take pictures of for translations. Okay, is that one? That is that one. Okay, so this one, I'm trying to find the fucking date on here for when it came out. I believe it's 2011. Okay, so this one's actually more recent. This is 2013. You can't see it there, but there's a 2013 stamp there. It looks like this came out March 10th, 2013. Which actually puts these two guidebooks, since they both reference each other in the back, or at least this one references that one, as the in-between guidebooks between the original wave of guidebooks all the way. I have them over there right now. Hello, Rock and Alice. And the wave of guidebooks that come after the fact, because I believe these and like 6 others I have come after this one. Now, the reason it's kind of interesting is because I'm trying to complete and make a video talking about strongest Fist of North Star characters, why Part 2 isn't stronger than Part 1 by a vast margin, etc., etc. So there was a RAL guidebook. I knew about this guidebook when I was grabbing the RAL guidebooks in the past, and I thought it was supposed to come next month, but it came this month. So this one is literally all about RAL. This is, I think, RAL's 3rd guidebook. I could be wrong. This might be his 2nd. Yeah, let me show off some of that a little bit. This one should give me all the information about RAL. Granted, there is a more recent RAL guidebook that I've already worked on, but this one should have new information on its own. Also some consistencies. Because it's also nice to see what stayed consistent and what didn't. Like there we have some measurements for RAL. Very nice, very nice. A bit of a family tree situation. It does have some versus matchups in here. Showing off some of the pages as we go along here. But yeah, so these two, I believe, are the last of the guidebooks I'm missing. Because I know of one other guidebook, but it's a re-release of the 2014 guidebook. But I bought the 2024 or 2023 guidebook. There you go. Got some panels going on there. Some good old shenanigans there. And I don't think I need to buy a 2019 one. Alright, seems we'll have some information on Muso Tensei and RAL's fighting technically fought Kenshiro. Yeah, okay, so it looks like there's a section regarding RAL's techniques here as well. Very nice. This one, not quite. This one, I'm kind of expecting just to be sort of more of the same. More of the same information for RAL. Maybe some more details I was unfamiliar with. I'm curious what this one's going to say about RAL being the strongest or not when he was training. Have a section for his helmet. The other RAL guidebook actually does have a full discussion section along with Kenshiro regarding their outfits. Have a little full page spread there. Okay, here we go. We have a versus page section. Hello, BFB fan forever. Got versus page section with RAL and Toki here. Yeah. Okay, so it looks like that's RAL and Ryukin. We do have a section with RAL versus Ray. So I'm kind of curious what this is going to talk about regarding RAL's Toki aura. We have RAL versus Toki number 1. We do have a RAL versus Koryu. So yeah, it seems to be going over all of his fights from the main story. I don't think these are any hypotheticals. Yeah, then we have RAL versus Toki again, RAL versus Juza, and RAL versus Kenshiro the first time, RAL versus Fudo, and RAL versus Kenshiro in their final fight. It seems we have a section talking about his subordinates as well. We have Yuta, Jagi, stuff like that. Yeah, unfortunately. Oh, okay. So this was actually kind of cool. It actually does talk about Baron, which is kind of nice. Law of Fist North Star Part 3. So Rao's greater than everyone. Too true. Too true. But no. Yeah, so I'm curious what's going to be on here. It looks like there's a bit of a story beat. We have a section that looks to be talking about the Death Omen Star. So a little section talking about Death Omen Star there. Want to talk about Juza most likely riding Rao's horse. It looks like we have some character commentary, or this might be a moments thing because we have. Why are so many people? It's weird. Yeah, because we have a section right there, and then we have the like other characters' faces on the icon there, because that's Kaido's face right there with his helmet on. Yeah. So this guy book. I believe this one and then that one were the last one I was waiting on. I'm going to talk about the other one a little more afterwards because the other one has a little more substance we're talking about. Because that one I didn't even know existed until I was finally going to buy this one for my graduation present. Yeah, I think it's just like character commentary on the situation. I could be wrong about that one. There seems to be some sort of rating here. I'll have to check and see what this is later on. Oh, okay. That's kind of cool. So it seems to be there's a section where real life martial artists seem to be either imitating Rao's moves or talking about what inspired Rao's techniques. I think it's them imitating it based on like them following the pose almost exactly. I'm curious if this is gonna be like a section talking about like the real world application of Rao's techniques, maybe. Yeah, no, I think that's what that is because you can see the pose right there. We're copying, catching someone's fist. What keeps going on there? Yeah, I think that's what that is. Sort of like showing off a real world application of the pose. Yeah, that's probably what it is. Looks like we have a Black King section. Rao's horse always gets a little section in his guidebooks, so that's to be expected. Nothing really new there. One section where Juzo rides it, one where Bat and Kenshiro are riding it. Okay, it's kind of interesting. So, I guess they talk about who Rao was potentially based on in real life. I believe that's Arnold Schwarzenegger, right there on the right there, or left for me, right for you guys, I believe. Kind of weird there. Yeah, we have a section of Black King killing people. He is based on a Terminator. Nice. Probably not. We have a random uh, random woman in Stanley clad clothing. I guess she plays an instrument because on one end looks like she's holding a bow, but I could be wrong on that one. Not too sure on that one. Bruh. Another full page spread. This is more likely, if I have any guesses, probably about Raoul's journey through love. Yeah, it is. I can already tell just at a glance. After reading enough of these guidebooks, you kind of get used to it. Yeah. Yeah, his journey with Yuria. This is more likely discussing his brotherly connections, since we have the scene of him after his fight with Toki, him helping Kenshiro, being Toki. Yeah, this is more likely just like a section regarding Rao's emotions and like his feelings throughout the story. It looks like we. Okay, so this was a little interesting. I think this is actually an army rating section because there are different star ratings on the characters, with Rao's army having a 5-star rating and the others coming in different areas. Okay, I actually kind of like this one because so while it's kind of forgotten, Souther's army and Souther as a character did stall Rao's conquest of Centuries End. The reason Rao didn't conquer Centuries End sooner was mainly because Souther existed. So Souther also seems to have a 5-star rating for his army. A few other armies are brought up here and there by the looks of it. Fudo's army, Huey's army, Last Knight General. I wonder if they bring up the Ozras. They do actually. Okay, this is actually kind of interesting. You know what? Yeah, I have to believe these are the. I have to believe they're talking about the armies here. Oh, they have the little scene where Yuta throws the girl to be gang raped. Interesting choice. It looks like the Ozras are a 5-star rated group, which falls in line with Souther's army and Rao's army. But Huey or Hio's fucking generals, like his elite group, is only rated at 4-star, like Shin's army. Han's group, I have to translate this one. Unfortunately, without the translation, I can't tell if they're talking about the fighters or their armies in particular. Because Han just has his harem, but he's also at a 4-star rating. So the high-level fighters are one-man armies, effectively. The North Star Army has a 3-star rating, putting them below Shin. This is probably more of an in-depth character study after the fact, this section. Yeah, this might be a history of the fighter situation. Not too sure on this one. I have a lot to translate regarding this. Let's say we got a quote section. It usually pops up in most of these Fist of the North Star guidebooks. We have a quote section. Okay, so here we go. So this one looks to be based on historical precedent for Rao, because I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe that is Nobunaga. I'm not sure. Nobunaga is one of those weird characters where, in history, where a lot of people reference and talk about him in a positive manner. Which, to be fair, I don't think he did anything explicitly wrong, but like his death's always kind of been a bit of a mystery regarding that situation. Yeah, I believe that's historical providence. Yeah, it should be because I think it's drawing parallels to Rao and like past conquerors and shit. We have another section. Not too sure what this section's about, unfortunately. Because this might just be more of Rao's like feats of strength, but I can't really tell without translating it. But that's what it looks like based on the pictures shown. This might be a story of events. I'm not too sure on this one. Because we have Salad right here on 5, but Kinshiro's on 2, so I'm like... Okay, looks like we have a merch section for looking at Rao's merch throughout history, I guess. Actually, I take that back. This might just be a merch section in general. Some of the guidebooks actually do have ads for the merch they were advertising at the time. I believe that's what this is. Looks like we have another interview with another woman. I'm not too sure who she is in reference to Vista North Star. Looks to be some sort of model. This is not the first time, by the way, if it is a model, just talking about it, because actually, funnily enough, Gat, a famous sort of Japanese actor and musician, who he voiced the antagonist of Crisis Core. What's his name? I think Genesis or Genos? No, I think it's Genesis. He actually has an interview in a couple guidebooks, or in one of the guidebooks, and then in a couple other guidebooks, they have other famous people talking about it. Yeah, but it looks like that's just more of that. Looks like we do finally get a section of Rao subordinates who aren't like fucking Ryuga, Jaggi, or Yuda and fucking Amoeba. Yeah, just his random lackeys who end up getting killed out throughout the story. You know what? I don't think Uyghurs popped up. Huh. Okay, so this one's actually kind of interesting. We have another timeline. So the current timeline of events that I was able to acquire via one of the Rao guidebooks, because the Rao guidebooks seem to be the only one with the fucking timeline, is when Rao met Falco and when he encountered Kaio. But this one has its own timeline as well. This one, I believe, should be the outdated version, but it'll be important to see the consistencies and changes there. And now, the more interesting guidebook, which looks like only rock analysis here, which is fine. So, back in 1980, I think it's like 1988 is where my oldest guidebook is dated. Might be 1986 or 7. They rated the characters top 10 strength-wise on a list. First time they did it, as far as I can tell based on the copyright dates and such of that nature. So, they do it again in the 2000s guidebook. This is the guidebook that everyone's familiar with. This is the grade A, triple A, double A, strength stat 5, power 5, etc., etc. That's that guidebook. We're all familiar with those stats. When I was buying that RAL guidebook, this guidebook popped up. I'd never seen this guidebook before. This was the first time I'd seen it. I look at one page inside the guidebook. It rates the characters in terms of powers. So, I'm going to give you a rundown. Strength of fist. But okay, so but actually before I do that one, the reason this one's so important, or this one's so interesting. 2011, 2013. Okay. No one talks about this guidebook at all. This guidebook does not see any discussion in any of the power scaling scenes I've seen, and I've heard no one talk about this. And it has the most recent character ratings in there, actual character ratings, not just top 15 strongest. So when I saw this guidebook, I immediately knew this is going to be a pain in my ass. But this should also give me the definitive or a more definitive piece of evidence for whether or not part 2 is stronger than part 1 by a vast margin. So I'm going to have to go through it. I've only translated one section of it, but I can at least tell you that it's already giving me a pain in the ass. So first things first, this is overall general star rating of 7. The 10 is fist. The 9, I believe, is leadership. The 10 is love. That 10, I believe, is intelligence. That's ambition. And I believe that 10 is looks. I could be wrong about the last 10. But so they're not all based on power and speed and stuff this time around. It's a more wide character basis. But yeah, so Kenshiro is a 7, rated 10 in terms of the strength of his fist. And also, I'm just going to say this now. God, I hope I don't get a fucking message about this. I did translate what it says down here in the square just to see what it says. And it does say that Kenshiro gets stronger every time he fights. Please, I'll explain it later. I have counter arguments to that. But yes, that is stated more officially here, which, I mean, we already kind of knew that was the case, but I'm just saying it now, and then I'm probably going to get some guy messaging me or commenting on this video if they watch it, like, oh, so then fucking the Ozra should absolutely fucking stomp out Rao and shit. So, yeah, let me provide some example. Yeah, so right there we have Shin, where the fuck is Shin's rating at? Okay, so Shin's rating, I believe, is the 7 in the strength area. Let me double check on that one. Because it's the first one, the upper left, is the strength of their fist. So Shin is a 7. Kenshiro's a 10. Okay? Simple, easy to understand. Shin's overall rating is 4. Okay. So, let's move a little forward. I think this is also a little more explained because you have Bat over here. Bat over here being a 3 in terms of combat capabilities. I think we can all agree Bat being a 3 makes sense. Let me see here. Well, I'm curious what to say about Bat. It has a 0 in strength for fighting capabilities, but then that means Ken should be much stronger than Rao now. Some random Fist North Star fan? No, it's literally what's gonna fucking happen. Yeah, we get a bunch of random mooks who don't seem to have ratings of their own. Interesting. I guess they didn't go all the way to rate everybody, which is kind of weird. I'll have to translate these later to see what it says about these guys. But yeah, so okay, right here, for example, Ray's strength of fist is a 7, but he is rated at a 5 overall. He's 1 higher than Shin. Lore-wise, Ray should be substantially stronger than Shin, but whatever. The point is that they're 7. Ray's sister's a 0. Jaggy is actually a 3. So unironically, according to this guidebook, Jaggy and fucking Bat have the same level of fighting capability. Not yet, but potentially some very silly shenanigans there. This one's kind of interesting. Amoeba is actually rated as a 7 on the combat scale. Actually, I believe that's 7. Yes, that's 7. So that puts Amoeba in the same tier as Shin and Ray, which is rather surprising, but actually, not too crazy. Although that makes, that does put Amoeba way higher than Jaggy, which should be expected. Toki, flat out 10 in the strength department. I'll have to see what it says about their comments down below for sure, though, to see what it says. Get a little section about the pressure points, as you do. Okay, no one's talked about these ratings as far as I can find. Yuta, kind of interesting on this one. Yuta is a 3 rating with a 6 in terms of fist. So according to this guide, Amoeba's a better fighter than Yuta is. I can kind of see that. Yuta was able to square up with Amoeba was able to square up with Kenshiro for a bit and did learn Hokuto Shinken. But I do have a statement saying that Amoeba and Ray were close in skill and their fight was close when Ray killed him. Although I think this would supersede that statement, but that's a little wonky. Mamiya has a 2 in strength, but basically a 10 in everything else. Shu has a 7 in strength as well. I do not believe speed was included in the categories. I do know that intelligence was and leadership was. So it was ambition. Ambition is the one up there. But so according to this, the character ratings for Amoeba, Shu, Ray, and Shin are all on the same level, which is a little fucking silly. Souther is rated at an 8 with a 6 on the star rating. I think this is one of those cases to where the overall star rating is what matters here a little bit more for the character. But this one's going to be a big dissection to go into because technically I should have more than enough evidence to put Amoeba like below fucking Yuta, but at the same time, this is the most recent character analysis and rating, so it's a little interesting to see how they've changed over the years. Because to be clear, in the 2014 guidebook, which comes 1 year after this one, the top 15 strongest list does not have Amoeba in the list. Although I think that might be more of a generalized everything situation. Because here we have Ryuga at a 5. So this guidebook is making the claim that Amoeba is a better fighter than Ryuga. Which actually kind of fucking bonkers if that's actually true. Also puts Amoeba above Huey and Fuga, the Wind and Fire Chariot, and puts them in the same fist strength level as fucking Juza. That's actually pretty fucking based. And actually puts Fudo as being slightly stronger than them at an 8 instead of being at a 7. That's actually a little more consistent because Fudo's actually ranked stronger than Juza in the 2014 guidebook. Now, to be clear, I'm just going off the number for their character ratings and their star chart. Mainly looking at fist to strength right now. So I'm just going through all of them, popping the numbers out, but there might be some context in here that might change how certain ratings are looked at. Yuria has a flat out 0, which is absurd. She's responsible for the death of most people in the verse. She should at least have a 10 in strength. Let's be clear about that one. Now, as you can imagine, Rao has a 10 in everything. Like, basically fucking everything. I forgot what the fuck that last one on the bottom right is. But so Rao has a 10 in everything, which means Rao has a 10 in intelligence as well, and he still can figure out Tyler's body. So, as you might imagine, where am I going with this? Now we're getting to part 2. You can see right there that Ein has a 5. Putting him weaker than quite a few characters, but stronger than Bat, to be fair. So, Falco has an 8. So you might notice immediately off that strength list alone that Falco and Souther are the same level of strength. Although Falco has a 9 in love over Souther, I think he has more. Does he have more intelligence? He might have more intelligence, actually. Let me check. He might be more intelligent than Souther. I'd have to check and see where the actual stats are. But so as you can see right there, Falco, Souther, and Fudo are all rated at an 8. They are all the same level of fist strength. Akasachi, a guy who killed Azura, is a 2. Crazy how that works. Now this was actually a little interesting because this is somewhat consistent but also inconsistent. Sachi is rated at an 8 in terms of the strength of his fist. That's a little interesting because up ahead, Han is also at an 8, which is a problem. And it's a problem because Sachi himself states in the manga he has no chance against Han. So, granted, if we go off the star level, Souther is above them, and I'm more inclined to support the star level as the more valid interpretation of the overall characters, because the star levels also put the Nanto 6, with the exception of Yuta, above Amoeba, because I'm pretty sure they're intended to be stronger than Amoeba. I believe even Shin is at a 5. No, Shin's at a 4. Well, Dai's taken into account. Well, to take into account Cunning. Cunning might be what gets put into account. I think that might be the other one. I'll have to check. But yeah, so according to this, Sachi's fist strength level is on the same level of Souther, a little above the Nanto 6. But Han's is also at an 8. So you have 2 characters of the upper tiers who are not vastly stronger than the others. They're 1 level above them, potentially. Again, in the very next guidebook coming out the year after, the 2014 guidebook, neither Han nor Sachi, which I personally disagree with, make the top 15 strongest cut. Amoeba and Shin are at the very bottom of the fucking list. Never understood why Han didn't crack it. Hio is rated at a 10 strength. So Hio is on the same level of strength, allegedly, as the likes of someone like Rao and Toki. This actually is supported a little bit with the manga, because according to the manga, Kaio was afraid to fight Hio because he was convinced that Hio's blood would let him surpass Kaio. But keep in mind, we're showing him a general at 10. So that's the first guy who you can actually say straight up is a substantial metric stronger than some of the other characters in part 1. Only guy so far. And before you ask, none of the other Asuras are even on the list. But the fact that Sachi is at an 8 and Sachi destroys Asuras like they're fucking nothing, I think it's safe to assume that Nanto 6 would also be doing the same work. At least everyone but fucking Yuta. So, let's see here. So that's Han. That's Hio. We do have what appears to be both Ryukin and Ryuga. Now, this was actually very interesting. Because, not Ryuga, my apologies. Ryukin and Juki. Ryukin and Juki are both on here in the same tier. It appears that they are considered equal, at least based on the guidebook, that they are both at 9s. Now, this is actually pretty consistent because Rao, there are statements that Ryukin's the strongest man alive when Rao first fights him. But that also gets contradicted because Toki also claims Rao's the strongest, and some of the guidebooks also claim Rao was the strongest at that point. Colonel is not ranked, Kyle. The Colonel does not receive a ranking. But, so, Ryukin is at 9. Holy shit. I can actually show you a picture of the women in Fist of the North Star because there's not a picture. Actually, is there not a picture of Mamiya naked in this guidebook? That might be like the second guidebook that doesn't have that. Hang on. Let me go find her page real quickly. It really shouldn't matter, but it's so common that like if it's actually not in the guidebook, I'm actually surprised. Actually, yeah, there is no picture of Mamiya being naked in the guidebook. That's actually a surprise. Okay, so here we have Black Yashka is a overall level 6 with a 9 in strength of fist. So that one's also consistent because Black Yashka claims that his fist was superior to Juki, and him being at a 6-star rating. Where were the old masters were at a 5. I'm more inclined to believe this is similar to this is overall star chart right here on top. You see that 6 right there? See that 6 right there? I'm more inclined to believe that the way you're supposed to read this is character strength of, like, fist strength, but their overall strength or their overall level is the star rating within reason. But I'll have to translate this guidebook directly to see more of it. However, Kaio's at a 10 fist strength with a 5-star chart rating. So, as is consistent with almost every single fucking guidebook they've released, Rao and Kaio are at the same level of strength, except that Rao has a higher star chart than him, meaning that Rao is overall a stronger fighter. More than likely, that's what I'm assuming the star chart means. The star chart just might mean better person, honestly, at this point. I have to check because there's a lot more factors than just physical strength in here. However, Rao is a 10-10 on practically fucking everything and a 7. Kaio is a 10 in strength and falls off in a lot of factors. I believe one of those is leadership. Actually, Kaio being a 9 in love is kind of actually interesting because I believe he's rated higher than Souther. And Souther was stated to have like the deepest love Kenshiro knew. Yeah, he's actually rated higher in love than Souther. That's actually kind of funny. I believe this one's intelligence. I believe 3 and 2 are intelligence and leadership. 10 is ambition. The other 10 on his chart is ambition. But so yeah. So Rao, Kaio, and Toki, along with Kenshiro and Huey, Hio, are all 10s. Which is actually consistent with the depictions in the other guidebooks. Going on a little further, we have Assam, the king in part 3, who is weaker. He's an old man, but he's still pretty strong. He's a 5. His sons are 2s, meaning that Bat's stronger than his kids. A little interesting on that one. And Baron, the last person to fight Kenshiro and give him a challenge, able to hurt Kenshiro and blitz him, is only rated at a 3 in terms of strength of fist. Okay, here's when we have an inconsistency. Rao's kid is rated as a 10 in terms of the strength of his fist and a 7 across the board. So I'm gonna have to translate that later on because he's pretty. I don't know. Actually, I take it back. He might not be weak actually because he is able to read Kenshiro's attacks, and he is able to watch fights that like even other experienced fighters can't watch. So, Mohead. So that might be what's basing it on. That being said, though, so yeah, I'll go through and translate the guidebooks, or those guidebooks probably tomorrow to get new information in there. But yeah, those definitively at least provide enough evidence to put on the table that Part 2 characters are not vastly stronger than Part 1, which is something that's consistent in every single guidebook that has come out for Fists of the North Star. Again, the fact that Rao, Toki, Kenshiro and them are all rated at 10s already puts it at that level. But the fact that characters like Souther are also on the same level as other characters, speaks for itself. Yeah, I'll probably talk more about it on Kyle's stream later, since I'm basically going to be kicked out of streaming right now. But yeah, we'll talk a little more about it later. I just wanted to show us off a little bit. Tomorrow, what I might do is I might have a stream where I translate in real time and talk about it. But we'll see what happens on that one. So, until then, thank you guys for your time as always. Have a nice day. I'll see you guys on the next streamer video. Take care, everybody.